So at this time, I'd like to present Shirley Jones, past president of the Lakeland Art Guild, who will be talking about the Melvin Show history.
Good evening. It's really a pleasure to welcome all of you. I understand that there is over 97 of you fabulous artists who have submitted over 266 works of art. And just from the previous video that we were looking at, they're outstanding. I too am glad I am not the judge for this. That's fantastic. But I thought you would like to understand a little bit about the Lakeland Art Guild, because this is a big year for us. The Lakeland Art Guild was founded in 1952. And it was founded for a group of artists to give them an opportunity to share their art, their talent with the community, and to help each other. But also, this year is the 50th anniversary of the Melvin Show. And that started with a conversation between the president of that time and the director of the Polk Museum of Fine Arts. And in just a few years after that, I think it was just about 3 years after that, another conversation started. And it brought the show to the Florida Southern College at their Melvin Gallery, hence the name Melvin Gallery Show. It's been an annual show. It was one of their first juried shows for the Guild, and it has grown by leaps and bounds. And we're just thrilled that we were able to share all of this with you and that you are a part of it. I would, after the announcement, I think Sherry said that there will be a critique, so we hope that you stay on for that. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Denise Suttles, who's been the chairman of the Melvin Gallery Show for the past couple of years. Denise?
Hi, Shirley. Thank you. Thank you. It was such a pleasure being the coordinator for this show. There's I just wanted to thank everyone for sharing the work and making this possible. It's a beautiful show, and you all made it very special for our 50th anniversary. And so it's really an exceptional show that's sure to inspire others to keep creating. So thank you. And you put a lot of pressure on our judge. And so with that being said, I would like to introduce our judge, Jason L. Moodie. He's the leads art educator for the Elvin Independent School District from Texas. And we are so happy, so happy to have him judge this show for us this year on our 50th anniversary. So, all right, I'll send it over to you, Jason.
All right. Well, don't put the show up yet. I just want to talk for just a couple of minutes. Sure. So just a little bit more of my background. I have been, I worked at the Museum of Fine Arts here in Houston. And so I'm from the Houston, I'm not from the Houston area. I'm originally from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where I grew up with a police officer and a artist as a mother and father. And from there, I taught in Seattle, worked at the museum in Seattle for a little while, and then moved down here to Houston. I've been a curator and all kinds of things, worked on exhibitions around the area as well. So it was a great pleasure to look at some amazing artwork. It always amazes me how creative you all are. And
sorry, Jason.
Oh, that's good. I like the background music.
I was trying to exit it out for our, I'm sorry. I'll keep you going. I was trying to get ready for the next PowerPoint.
I was just saying, it's absolutely amazing to see the creativity that comes out of artists like yourself. And I appreciate everything that you do and the struggle that it really is to be an artist, the voice and the vision and the discovery that you have to go through and discover every single day is really a pleasure to see the fruits of your labors. All right. So yeah, 266 artworks. I thought I'd let you know my process as I was going through this. Really, the technical aspects of the work is phenomenal. However, really what I was looking for is a voice, a vision. I wanted to feel a little bit of your heart, a little bit of you. And so I was looking for not only that technical aspect, but also the ability to allow us to participate in who you are, and whatever the statement was that you were trying to create, whether I understood it or not, you can still feel the heart of the artist behind it. So I call that the voice and the vision. You'll hear me say that often throughout the talking here. All right, so I guess we're good to go. Narrowing it down to 6 was miserable. I spent about 6 days trying to go through this, and I kept narrowing it down bit by bit by bit, and I wound up with what I believe is the top of the line here. Not to discourage any of you at all. It is a phenomenal exhibition. All right, Denise, we're ready to go. And I think we're doing this in ascending order. So we'll start off with the honorable mentions.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the slideshow, and I hate that my slides show up on the left. Let me see. And so I want to play the slideshow, but then it hides my Zoom screen. And so I'm going to do my best to do this. All right, you'll have to work with my technical difficulties. Let's see. Let's see. We're getting it. Let me go back to my Zoom and share my screen. Let's see. And afraid we're going to see some of it here, but from the beginning. Okay, we're set.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first honorable mention, Christina Lehman. Oh yeah, pause it.
Okay.
Go back, pause it.
Oh, okay.
Just give me a second. I just want to talk about it.
Okay, I got
it. The really, like I was saying before, the technical aspects of this, and you know, we, as an art critic, and what I'm looking for is that idea of the figure and the ground relationship. You know, how do these things interact with each other? And it's the whole piece. There's this wonderful little element that happens with this little firefly and this little steampunk deer. It's a beautiful little conversation that we get to participate in. And what a great opportunity to see this. So thank you. Congratulations, Christina. All right. Diane Martin, Lublinsky. Sorry if I destroy that. Honorable mention. I was amazed at the size of these pieces that you had submitted. I mean, 26 inches by 11 inches and 7. They're a wonderful expression. The texture and the color value that you've put onto these ceramic pieces is really emotional and really, really interesting to look at. So again, congratulations, Diane. And our third honorable mention is Gary. This is Gary Agard, I believe. The conversation of this one was phenomenal. I love seeing the, and by the way, I did see that movie, so it was a really interesting connection with that Peter Sellers movie. But what a great expression on this face, and to see, again, the technical skills, and then getting the whole picture all together with a great political connection with this thing. So congratulations, Gary. All right, so here we go. And our bronze award, this goes to Karina Lady from Sorrento, Florida. Sorry, not California. I don't know where that came from. Still waiting. So to me, this was, again, this idea of a voice and a vision, and her gaze just really drew me in as I was going through this. The silhouettes of the birds and the cat in the bottom left-hand corner, it created this snaking motion that my eye followed as I was going through, and ultimately just landed on this gaze. And I know multiple of us have got children or teachers. We know what that death stare is, and this is what I'm getting from here. This is I'm gonna wait until you're done, and when you're done, we'll carry on. Look, and that little bit of tension in her hands is just wonderful. So congratulations, Karina. And our gold award goes to Nathaniel Gilchrist. This to me was about a conversation between me and the artist, and allowing me the ability to play and to rotate this, and to hear the clunk clunk of this marble, or these round things rolling around in there, and just allowing us to feel the freedom and the creative movement that was going on in here. Technical aspects, it's just spot on. It's really, really clean and a beautiful piece. And I love the sculptural aspect of this, allowing it to rotate in space. And again, that conversation that I get to have with the piece and with the artist is really the joy. All right, congratulations, Nathaniel. And our best in show, and I apologize, I may destroy your name, but Zhenyi Wang, what a beautiful piece. And again, this conversation that happens in this piece, that figure-ground relationship, the technical details of these little tiny figures on the drapery, and then not only that, but looking at each and every individual little fold of the drapery, and then the ghosting of the secondary figure. And I love seeing the life cycle of that pomegranate that's happening around there. And it created this idea of wonder and joy in trying to discover what was happening within it. And so it just really drew me in. And this was a strong piece right off the bat. It was an outstanding piece. And again, the scale of these pieces, 40 inches by 55 inches is a significant size for a piece like this. And it's just beautifully done. That subtle gray in the background, and creating that depth that really, really adds to it. So congratulations to all of you. It was not an easy decision. And looking through, I mean, any given time, it could have been anybody else. Any other jury could have been anybody else. It was very, very challenging. And ultimately I went with what spoke to my heart, and really that conversation that I could have with you as an artist. Anyway, congratulations. It was wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Congratulations to you all.
Now, Jason, we had some artists that would like their work critiqued. I think I compiled a list for you.
Sure.
If you like. I think they're staying on. We got a good captive audience here.
You're all welcome to stay and and help out. I mean, I would love to hear the conversations that some of the artists were thinking when they created these things. And so, I have a few questions I'd love to ask, and by all means, if anybody has any other questions about looking at the work or whatever, feel free to jump on in. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I've got this up. There we go. All right, is that working? Sound, it looks good. Okay, let me get everybody up here so I can see faces and stuff. I have a double monitor so I can see y'all too. Okay. All right, Timothy, where's Timothy? Or do you go by Tim? Is he on here? I don't see his name anywhere. Well, I'll come back to that one. Mauricio, are you on here? There you are. See Mauricio.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So Mauricio, can you tell me a little bit about your process on this? I was trying to figure out, by the way, I mean, a lot of these ones that we're going through on the critique, in fact, almost all of them, really were in my first go round as top choices. So it was really fun to to look at who wanted a critique done, and now I can talk about these with the artist. Can you tell me a little bit about your process here?
I start with a simple photo, usually of either flowers or leaves, and I crop them to whatever I find interesting in the image, and then transform them into pure black, white, and all shades of gray in between.
These are really, really, I mean, they're so stark. And what paper is it printed on?
Normally, they're printed on, first of all, they're photos, okay?
Yeah.
So when I print them, I print them on Epson art print
Okay.
stock.
Yeah, I was just wondering because that first one, it's got a texture to the paper, and it's almost like a watercolor paper. It just kind of adds to that a little bit.
Well, but that is the background of the digital image.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not the an effect of the actual paper.
Wow. Nice. I loved the subtleness of these little pieces. I mean, I say little, they're 12 by 12, but I mean, that simple subtleness, it reminds me of, oh, doggone it, the photographer is spacing I'm totally forgetting. But in the early days of capturing plants and documenting plants, and if Sherry, help me out if I can't remember her name. She does the cyanotypes of the plants. All right, it'll come to my brain. But in the early days, in the 1910s, 1920s, there was a photographer who would create cyanotype prints, their contact prints of plants. Capturing these plants and creating an actual contact print of them for record keeping. And so she's an artist, but she was doing this for scientific purposes. And that's really what this reminds me of. And you're really capturing like the little essence of these, instead of getting every single value of gray and every color, you've broken this down to its basic shapes and given us what is the essence of these wonderful plants. And the having them on that square format, it just enhances this, allowing it to be slightly off center and giving a little bit of dynamic movement. And now knowing that texture is part of the image itself, that just adds to it a little bit more and gives it a little bit more of a depth that's going on here. And one of the things that I talk about, and so I teach photography as well, and I've put on photography exhibitions at the museum. And one of the things that we always look for as curators and as photographers is that the subtlety and the story, and what are you trying to say? And I can really hear a voice coming through these little things. The idea of narrowing it down and giving us the base elements. Really beautiful job, Mauricio.
Thank you.
Jason, I phoned a friend, my husband, and I asked him because he's the photographer in the family. And he said Henry Fox Talbot did a lot of sepia things like that, but he couldn't remember the cyanotype.
It wasn't Talbot. Talbot was, I mean, of course he's, okay, I'm going to look it up. Give me a second.
That's what he said he was going to do. He said he did sepia, not the cyanotypes. So he wasn't sure of the name of the person you were looking for, but.
Anna Akins.
Oh, there we go. Yes, somebody else got it too.
Yeah, Anna Atkins. Anna Atkins. Yeah, but she had some stunning works that were based off of plants and capturing. She was a botanist, but her work has turned into some amazing artworks. But you could look her up. She's wonderful. All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have did Thomas come on yet? No? All right, so we'll carry on. Let's go to the next one. Sergio.
Hello, I'm here.
All right.
Mhm.
These again, so we're dealing with another photography. The aspect of these that I found really interesting is that they just don't look like photographs. And it was really cool to figure out, all right, how did you do this? What was going on here? And so again, I'm interested in your process here.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity, by the way. And congratulations, everyone. I really liked what I've seen from the beginning. Excellent. Okay, so about my work, basically, I started with a photograph, a simple photograph, really. And those two on the sides were originally from Lisbon, which was a kind of a greenhouse from the 18th century in a park that belonged to the royal family there. So that's the photograph. But then when I was wondering about people who actually walked by those parks, by the park and the greenhouse, or what they were feeling and thinking, and all that stuff. And that's how I started to create. And why I named Tenebris and Illuminatus is it's like the paradoxical reality that we live in. Like we have two sides on everything, like the coin, we have two sides. And then in life, there are ups and downs, right, left, and so on. So then I felt like, just like Carl Jung said long ago, right, that even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness. So that's why you have the one on the right, meaning something more of a downside or not enlightful. And then the other, more of light. So it's everyday life. So maybe in 1 minute, you're not feeling well, the next you are just feeling great. And the process is just using my, different ways of doing, I use a digital pen, for example, right, to draw. So in different shades and shapes and stuff like that. And of course, little scribbles or doodles, you name it.
It's got a wonderful distortion, and I like that that you've got this connection to the places where it's connected to, and that's a great part of the story. I can see that there is definitely a connection to this, and there's a personality that's coming through, and it's really nice. And the other thing that I really love about these is that you've got this connection to like the abstract expressionist, but you're going about it in a new way. The idea of pulling in photography and using photography to create that abstraction. And when I talk to my students, and I'm teaching my students, we're talking about abstraction, especially with photography, it's more of a challenge because you have to deal with an idea of realism when you take the photograph and then go backwards and abstract it. And so it's a more difficult challenge to take that realism out. And I feel like there's this wonderful voice that's happening coming through these pieces. Really beautiful pieces.
Yeah, the one in the middle, for example, was just basically my terrace, not a terrace, it's a balcony, right? And I can see from here Lagos Island just across, which is, I have beautiful island, beautiful mansions and trees. So they were just a reflection to my window. And of course, my the floor from my balcony, which I had designed looking like a promenade, and they were reflecting on the window. So basically, I diluted colors.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what's really that's what's so dynamic about this is that again, pulling out those colors that are meaningful to you and giving this a voice through that abstraction. And when you say, well, it was the railing, now I can see the railing. That's kind of fun that they all of a sudden pops out. And I thought I saw hints of windows in these. And then when you talked about where they came from and it's a greenhouse, then it starts to fall into place again. But again, I really love that abstraction that's going on here, and really narrowing it down to colors that are essential and parts that are essential to an expression. And that's really what the abstract expressionists are about, right? And it's backing up and really just allowing the emotion to take over and allowing it to speak for itself. You put an artwork up there, you don't have to explain it. You put it up there
Wow.
and you say, this is it. This is it. And it's going to stand on its own. And these have a significant size. I mean, 36 by 24 is a significant print. So
And I have them right here in front of me. So
yeah, I would love
good.
to see these in real life. It would be beautiful to see them that size. You know, I love when a photographer takes those and just, man, puts it right in your face. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So wonderful. Good job.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. It was amazing. Thank you.
All right, Karen. Do we have Karen on here? Trying to read everybody's name while I'm going through this.
Huh?
Yeah, now you can talk.
We don't have.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you are.
I am.
I'm trying to see where you're speaking from.
I like.
Oh, there you are. I was looking for the green thing.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about your work here.
Well, I work in collage, mainly in paint, and I like to create sort of fictional characters that aren't based on reality, but they have some tie to a human aspect, just out of my imagination. And I don't plan things. They come to me as I'm sitting around doing my art.
Okay. Do you have an inspiration, an artist that inspires you?
Well, I like Matisse a lot.
Okay.
Picasso.
Okay. Yeah, I see the cubism a little bit in here. And the artist that really stood out to me that I see a connection with here is like de Kooning.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I see some de Kooning that's happening here, and even some Jasper Johns. I really see that idea of collage and artists like Max Ernst, when you look at surrealism and dealing with
Right. Yeah.
multimedia and rubbings and collages and all of these things that just that start to just pull and give you a connection to, again, kind of this abstract / realism that's happening, or a dreamlike state.
Right.
You know, I especially look at the center one that you have here, Through Thick and Thin. That's the one that really pops out to me as like a de Kooning or a Jasper Johns,
Yeah.
and especially when you look at the early de Koonings.
Yeah. The one on the left is torn from a newspaper, and it's torn in one tear. You know.
Oh, are you serious? One
Yeah. One
okay.
tear. And the figure is sitting on a security envelope.
Okay. The collage are difficult because you have to pull from these ready-made materials, which means that you are always on the job.
Right.
You know, you always have to pay attention to the world around you. You always have to pay attention to possible supplies and possible things that you're going to be using in your work. And so you end up being this collector. I'll bet you have a studio that's full of all kinds of stuff. And your husband's like, yep.
Yep, up to the ceiling.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a collector. My wife keeps telling me to clear out the garage, and I said, but I'm going to use it. It's been in there for 10 years, but I'm going to use it eventually. You know, again, the subtleness and I keep saying this, that idea of the figure and the ground relationship, and in particular, looking at that center one and Poised, the collage one that you're talking about. They have this wonderful connection with the background, and that idea of putting that envelope just slightly askew to add that dynamic angle, those angles that come in, the fold that goes right at the feet. I mean, it's just perfectly lined up, very well laid down. I'm trying to think of it. There's another artist. He's a local artist here, Havel, who does, he teaches at the Glassell School here in Houston at the museum. He does these collages with cardboard. So he'll collect Amazon boxes, and working at the art school, he's getting stuff delivered all the time. So all these art supply boxes, and they get torn up and shredded, and he will create these amazing abstract collages that remind me of these two. So Joseph Havel is an artist that I would recommend you have a look at. He does sculptural work as well that are done with collages the same way.
How do you spell
Beautiful pieces. What's that? I'm sorry.
How do you spell his last name?
Havel, Havel, I believe.
J-V-E-L.
Yeah, Joseph. If you look up he's the director of the Glassell School of Art that's connected with the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what this work reminds me of. Really, really cool.
Very good. Thank you so much.
I have a
Absolutely.
question for Karen real quickly.
Uh-huh.
I really love the poised piece. You tore that in one turn.
I
That's
did.
what my
I
thought
am
was too.
I get it.
amazed. Did you add any supplemental lines, or did the paper that was original just speak to you? Because there's such a depth and such a I just am really drawn into the figure and to kind of exploring what looks like layers and layers and layers of mark making and or collage. And if it's just one piece of paper, I am just, wow.
I have to admit there's some graphite, you know,
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
around the arms. There is some drawing, but the actual tearing of the paper was, you know,
It's such an
Oh,
expressive
wonderful.
pose. It's really beautiful.
thank you.
All right. I can't see the name at the top there because my thingy's in the way. Heidi. Is Heidi on here?
Bruckner.
Yeah.
Heidi is not on here, but she's going to watch it on the YouTube channel. So she just would like you to say a few words. She messaged and said she'd really like a critique, but
Sure.
able to make the Zoom, but she plans on watching it.
I love the expressiveness of these, and again, when I was looking at these, I went in blind, and I tried not to look at any names. I did not look at materials. I did not look at any of that, and I just really enjoyed looking at these. The one that really stands out to me is this one here. Big, man, I can't even read that. Anyway, the board boss, right? Brent, too many B's in that one. That one really stood out to me. And really what drew me in is this character. Such a bright, bold character that goes on here. And I just wanted to walk in and just talk to him. I wanted to walk up and say hi and figure out what's going on here. Like I tried to figure out what world he's in and what was going on with the trellis in the background. It looks like there's words across the back, and it just really drew me in. But then when I looked at the materials, and it was like oil and yarn on recycled bubble paper, I was like, what is bubble paper? I want some. So I was trying to figure out what this is. If anybody knows what bubble paper is, somebody tell me, because I need to have a look at this. And then looking at the paper and the canvas and all of these, I mean, the expressiveness of these faces, and again, narrowing it down to almost an abstraction, but still allowing us to have a connection with the realism of these characters is really, really fascinating to me. So I hope that helped. I hope that helped. All right, let's see what we got. Nope, wrong one. There we go. Robert. Is Robert on here? Missing another one? Well, I'll talk about this one too. The technical aspects of this one, colored pencil eludes me. I am not an artist with enough patience to deal with colored pencil. And so when I see a color pencil and graphite and the subtleness that can happen on here and the wonderful texture, especially when we're looking up in here. I mean, that I was like, wow, it's great. The shadows that are done in there and keeping that color tone that comes through, color pencil just blows me away. Those of you that can do that, hey, good on you. I can't do it because I can't sit there and stare long enough, and now my eyes don't work very well. So anyway, Robert, that was pretty awesome. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Is Willow on here? Where's everybody? Dang.
I know, I am sorry.
We should have you all share your screen and we talk
Oh.
about yours. Willow's, the one that really get me here is this one here, the fluid femininity, and dealing with photography. The photographer that stands out for me on this one is like Moholy Nagy would do these amazingly abstract photographs. Now, mind you, Moholy Nagy is dealing with black and white, mostly contact prints, but this one has that subtlety of abstraction that I think if Moholy Nagy was creating things in full color, that would be it. And it has nothing to do with realism or anything at all. It's just this idea of expression, full on expression and capturing an emotion. And then the looking on the other end, you've got this really great collection of sort of a cubist sort of composition that happens here with ducts and pumps and dealing with oil paint. So I mean the diversity of all y'all as artists, it just blows me away again. Is Ann on here?
I am, but
All right.
it looks like I'm Rob Whitcomb, who's my husband.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
But now I see the green line. Your background, when I thought you were like Red Cross. Because that Red Cross
I'm
behind
a
you.
sculptor as well as printmaker. That is a wool piece.
Is it really? Wow,
It's a
fantastic.
three-dimensional cross.
All right, so tell me about, I am a cyanotype sucker. I love me some cyanotype. So tell me about your process here.
Well, cyanotype is something I learned about years ago when I was studying printmaking, and it was introduced as a possible thing that we didn't get into, and I stored it away for later, and the opportunity came to make things in the sun outdoors, and there are pre-treated cyanotype materials, so you don't have to do the chemistry, which can be dangerous if you're not careful.
Have you done the chemistry before?
I haven't. I've walked through it a million times in a class, but
There's a company in Seattle that they make photo material and particularly with cyanotypes. They have they're one of my favorite sources because you can buy paper from them that is 20 feet by 20 feet if you wanted it.
yeah.
They will send it to you ready done, but they'll do the chemicals for you and send it to you, and it just comes in the mail. And I've had it shipped here to Houston, but they're a great company. I'm spacing their name, but if you look up cyanotype materials
In Seattle. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this remind me again, this is again along the lines of Anna Akins, right? And again, because the contact print that cyanotypes require, looking at the contact printers from early photography like Moholy Nagy, particularly with abstraction. Now the X-ray is that someone that you know?
Absolutely not. Is salvaged material that was
Okay.
70 millimeters. When I was at Rutgers, there was a place we had access to.
That's
And
fantastic.
I've microfiched them. I have printed them, cut up into slides as poster size.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of individuals in the long strip of film who have different qualities and characteristics. In this case, the pose that they all take, but differently, is similar to the amphora shape.
Mhm.
And I wanted to pair them and compare them as vessels.
The juxtaposition of the two, I think, is really what's dynamic on here, and seeing that comparison between the two vessels. I mean, right? If we look at Egypt, they would take these vessels and put organs in the vessels.
True.
And so that's what I thought of when I looked at this, and I was like, oh, hey, I see an Egyptian connection, but then it's more of a Greek vessel than an Egyptian vessel. But still, the idea of our body as a vessel, it's a good comparison. And then,
and you're thinking that way too.
yeah, right. And the jellyfish at the top. So, and I love the description and the words that are on it, and then the direct comparison with an actual one beside it.
That's one of the names for the Portuguese man of war.
Yeah, I have been stung by one, and it's not fun.
Oh dear. Oh, it put great fear into me as a child. But, but I was fascinated. I couldn't stay away.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
And I'm enjoying the diptych format. I really haven't played with it before last summer, I guess. And I'm enjoying the kind of different perspective that the two sides offer. And
yeah, the diptychs are great because it kind of forces a conversation when we're looking at it, and it allows you to make your purpose and make your meaning stronger, right? It directs what you want me to be thinking about when I'm looking at this. So I really enjoy that about these.
Yeah, I hope it encourages the viewer to look a little differently as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the texture and the background of the small vessel fish, like chicken wire almost. And I mean, it's just got this really wonderful deep texture that happens. Have you noticed over time that these are darkening on you?
No, I don't think so. I think I did them kind of dark originally.
Okay.
I'm learning about exposures and stuff.
I darken mine with hydrogen peroxide.
I have used that, yeah.
Yeah, and you get this such a rich royal blue that comes through them.
Yeah, I thought, why not?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Well, these are fabulous. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Sophia.
Hello.
I love these.
Thank you. And as we say in my language, bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Yes. And so tell me a little bit about these. What is the connection that you have with these?
Okay. First of all, congratulations to everyone. It is such an honor. And thank you so much for this opportunity to have my work critiqued. This is something I have not done. I have not had much done. So I work as an artist part-time because, like every one of you know, it's very hard to make a living from art. So you have to have a full-time job to support your art and your family. So the first painting, Neighborhood Help, Respect, Collaboration, and Tolerance, I created that. It was a commissioned piece that's currently hung at the Florida International University, Herbert Wertheim College of Medicine, where I work. And on the first floor, it's about our program, a program called Neighborhood Help. That's a program where medical students are paired up with nursing social work, and under supervision of their professors who are doctors, they visit members of the communities, and they do a lot more in order to learn about social determinants and the impacts of someone's home life on their health, but also so that they can learn a bit more empathy and have more hands-on experience and develop relationships and give back to the community. So in the middle of this piece, we have respect, which is what is shown to a patient. This is an actual person, an amazing lady who's been part of the program from the onset 12 years ago. And it's an actual faculty doctor showing her respect, while the medical student is taking vitals. My colleague posed for me in this as the nursing student, and social work is in the background doing advising on nutrition. And then on the left, you have collaboration, which is a multidisciplinary group of folks, including myself in the white jacket and the blue, a younger version of me, around a round table collaborating. and then our mobile health center in the back where people can get free primary care. And then we have an actual temple from Aventura, Florida, not too far from where I work and live. And then we have a Muslim mosque. And then on the other side, you have the tolerance, which is again multicultural patient being seen. So what I did is that I did on the outside a charcoal. That was like my third piece like that. And then on the inside, it's oil, but it's all on 300-pound watercolor paper that I mounted. It was a lot of construction that I mounted on a thin board over a bigger board because I wanted people to see the piece float. Because my medium is oil.
Yeah, seeing that edge is wonderful. You know, the deckled edge to me adds a lot to the piece. This reminds, there's in the Dutch painters, early Dutch painters, when they were creating scenes, they would create them almost like a comic strip idea. And I see this expression coming all the way across. The whole story is happening here. And I love this. It's like reading a graphic novel, and you can read it from left to right or right to left. It doesn't matter, but we're seeing that there is a wonderful connection that's going and flowing all the way through. So it's a beautiful piece. Really, really nice. Tell me about the chapel pay. The reason I say that, yeah, this one, I love this piece, and it drew me in right off the bat, and I really was. It was hard not to pick all of my favorites. I had to narrow it down to 6. And I will say that this was one that I really loved, because the one that really got me is her face here. Right up here in the top left corner. That the rest of them with their heads down and they're not looking at me. And then all of a sudden I see this woman peeking from under her hat at me and engaging me at this market. But tell me about this one.
So this was a commission piece for a client who's actually the mom of my daughter's little best friend, one of her close friends, as a surprise for her husband. So having grown up, born and raised in Haiti, one of my fondest memories as a child was visiting the marketplace, because as a chubby little kid, I would get bribed by the cook, because, you know, it was different when I grew up. It was very affordable for a lower middle class or middle class family to afford to have a cook and a maid. So the cook would bribe me with a piece of sugary candy made out of molasses to walk all the way to the market scene. And then the bonus was when I got there, I was assaulted. My senses were assaulted by the looks, the beautiful brightness of the hats and in the colors of the mismatched clothing. Then the smells came. I mean, too bad we can't convey smells on paintings. And I have a fascination with Haitian baskets, anything straw. So I created this piece for her because her husband had seen another one of my works. The Haitian diaspora, especially in Miami, they tend to love my market scene because those are nostalgic pieces.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I really felt here, is that idea of nostalgia. And even though you can't allow me to smell it and see it and hear it, you can. And that's a wonderful thing. And you've got such a beautiful texture of amazingly gorgeous women, and the colors and capturing their handiwork, and you know, really, really beautiful piece.
Thank you. And then the last one, by Tete, breastfeeding. So this is my best friend and her son. So when I took a photo of her, because I think when I took that shot of her, I must have been either 8 months or 9 months pregnant with my daughter. So it was a bonding experience for us, because I was watching what I was looking forward to doing as a first time mom. But I captured them connecting gazes. And then in the background, because as a self-taught artist, I decided 2 years ago to go and take advantage of the opportunity at FIU to get a bachelor's degree. So I'm getting a second bachelor's. My first is in nutrition. So what I learned as an art student, as a BFA student, is about Impressionism. So I decided to use some of my friends' favorite colors to put in the background and create a movement, but still maintaining realism partially in the foreground by putting foliage from her backyard. But it's just the connection with the two of them, the gaze, their interlocking gaze, is something that I wanted to convey. And that piece recently won an award, Best in Show, in Pembroke Pines at an art show.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, like I was saying in some of the other pieces, that idea of the figure and ground relationship, people forget often that the background is just as important, if not more, than the actual work itself. And you've got a great job of capturing the backgrounds in all of these and allowing us to just enter into these worlds and flow and enjoy the experience of being there. Even though we can't be in Haiti, we can still experience being at a market in Haiti or experiencing this wonderful relationship between the mother and a very healthy child.
Yes. Oh, he's an adorable, he's 13 right now, and he's just yummy. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Deborah. So this is your eldest.
Yes, sir.
Who's this?
Yes, that's my oldest daughter. I'm a wildlife artist and pet artist, but I've never done a person before, so this is my first attempt. It's colored pencil on vellum.
And again, y'all that do color pencil, I do not have the patience to do color pencil, so I'm always astounded at your ability to do that. So the textures that you have on this are wonderful. The lacing that's happening over here is really beautiful. So you said you are a wildlife artist?
Yes, for 40 years I've drawn animals.
Okay.
And people always tell me I can draw people, but I consider a portrait artist somebody that can mirror the emotions of the sitter into a piece. And a lot of my wildlife drawings, I end up putting a lot of myself into. So this one was kind of fun because I could put a little bit of me in it because she was my daughter. But, and then doing it on a drafting vellum, it's not very forgiving and you can only put like 2 or 3 layers of the colored pencil on there.
That is true. And it has a transparency to it, which is, it's an odd thing to work with, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You can manipulate it and add colors on the back if you want. And then make them transparent, you know, like for animal fur and things like that. You can put a background matte on that that's like blue and it'll be a dust blue background.
Sure.
But the only problem is you have to be careful about. Go ahead.
I was going to say that would be an interesting thing to see with this piece in particular. What happens if you put something behind it and allowing that to have an interaction with the background. But I can see. I can see you in this. You know, when I looked at this and then I was scanning who on here and I saw you. I didn't even see your name yet, and I saw you. And so, you know, and that's one of the wonderful things that we can do as artists. And when all y'all create, that idea of putting you in here, that little bit of piece of you. And I think J.K. Rowling was getting it right when she's talking about, you know, the Horcrux and all this kind of stuff in Harry Potter, when I really believe that as an artist, we leave a piece of ourselves in our artworks, and a little bit of us constantly lives on as long as that artwork is out there. And I mean, what a lasting and what a beautiful memory that you get a chance to leave. Every little thing that you do changed the world. Every mark you put on a page, you changed the world. Since that very first time you grabbed a pencil in your hand and you made that little scribble, you changed the world because it didn't exist before. And so every subtle little thing, if we remember that when we make these, that's us. And if we put that and take that to heart and really put that meaning in, it's going to last and it's going to be very meaningful to us. Will we fail? Sure. Will we have bumps along the road? Absolutely. But those little bits and pieces really, really leave a lasting legacy. And it's a beautiful piece. What a great memory to have.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a first timer.
well, keep doing it. Keep doing it. And I would
Okay.
challenge you to I challenge you to continue with people. People are difficult. Dealing with proportions and all that kind of stuff, because we see people every day and we subconsciously know what people are supposed to look like. And if any little bit's off, it'll drive us crazy. But I challenge you to keep going with people and put a little bit more of you in there. You know, pull those little bits, those little aspects that you like, as far as like the wildlife things. I mean, pull them in. Pull those little things that are important to you in there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Adrian Watts. No, I'm not seeing. No. This to be, again, I'm dating back to the abstract expressionists when we look at like Klein and de Kooning and all those wonderful abstract expressionists in the early days. Abstract expressionism to me is a challenge. It's really difficult. People think, oh no, you just slap some paint down, and I said, well, go ahead and try it. You have to have this subconscious connection with the elements and principles of design, and especially with composition, that you just have to internalize and allow to flow out. If you don't, then it's just paint slapped down onto a page. And these definitely don't have that element. These all have an expression. These all have a heart, and they have a beautiful composition, as simple or as subtle as it might be. Figuring out that relationship and allowing a map for my eye to flow through these are just wonderful. The subtle little scribbles that are happening up in here, those little additions that happen in these little paintings are just beautiful. I say little paintings, 40 by 48. I mean, good night. There's a big piece, or even 20 by 20. That's not a small piece. And to do that on a piece that's 20 by 20, it's just, you know, it's a difficult thing. And this is the type of art that I think where people, if they don't understand it, they walk past and they just leave it alone. And this, if people can get into it, and you look at the color field artists, and again, going back to like Klein or de Kooning, but just getting in close and feeling the heart of the artist and understanding that there's a reason this looks good. And it's not just paint slapped on there, or mixed media in this case. I would love to know what media this is, but really.
I immediately thought of Helen Frankenthaler.
Yes,
and
absolutely, right?
Like the translucency and the kind of obscuring and the things, and how there's just such subtlety in the color, and how kind of parts are revealed and parts are obscured. And I thought they're just really quite lovely, and the size is amazing.
Yes, and the drips. Oh, I love drips. All of these wonderful drips coming down here, and you can tell that these are done in so many layers. So there's an element of time that we don't see.
The purposefulness.
We see the evidence of this time, but it allows us to just come in, and it welcomes us in to walk around in these wonderful worlds. All right. Do we have, is this artist on here? No? Okay. I love this piece. No, as an art teacher, all my students just destroy my paintbrushes, and I love to just do stuff like this with my paintbrushes. I love these. There's an artist, oh darn it, I'm spacing her name. I worked with her in Seattle with the art museum, the Arts and Crafts Museum in Seattle. We did this tile project of, she started as an artist working with acrylic. She used like, she put acrylic out and pulled the palettes off and pulled the chunks of palettes and then created with those. And then she was like, what can I do more? And she started to explore a little bit more. And we did this thing with a group of kids. And in Seattle, there is a gum wall, which absolutely grosses me out. But there's, by Pike Place, there's an alley down underneath where people just stick their gum on the wall. And it looks pretty, but when you know it's gum, it grosses me out and I can't go down there. But we did this thing with these students based off of the idea of the gum wall. And this middle piece reminds me of that. We made these tiles, stepping stones. They put their gum on there over the course of a week or so, and there was about 50 stepping stones. And then we put resin over the top of them to preserve them, and then put them outside in the park. So you're stepping on gum all the time. Anyway, that's what these remind me of. And I just had a student play with the idea of, I had her clean out the palettes one day, and then she was like, can I use this as artwork? Absolutely, you can. So the exploration is really, really wonderful here. Marcella, is Marcella on here? I think we're getting into the ones that were not on the list necessarily, but possible. Really good expression on this piece. That motion, the movement that's happening in here. Again, the size, the scale of all these artworks were really phenomenal. Is Dawn on here? Nope, we lost Dawn. This reminds me of all the Dutch, all of the Dutch painters. I'd love to see, like, where's the memento mori? Where is it? Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Where is it? Where's it hiding? Where's the dead index? Where's the meaning that's capturing us in here? You know, really, really cool piece. And I think that was the last one. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I wanted to know if you have any advice for me on what I could do to improve even my subjects, or any suggestion, because you know, now that my daughter is getting older, she's 13, I'm devoting more time once again in exhibiting and entering competitions, because I really want to see, I want to get further in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I encourage is particularly portrait artists, right? And Sophia, I'm going to say you've done a lot of portrait art. And
I am a portrait artist. I love doing people.
Taking it, going a little bit further as a portrait artist can be a challenge, because there's two sides to that. One, you need it to look like the person that it's supposed to be looking at. Let me take my screen off here. And go back over here. Stop sharing. There we go.
Okay.
All right. You know, it's you want it to look like the person that you're obviously capturing. However, one of the things that is so important is you are the artist, and your voice, your vision is the reason why somebody has asked you to make this, especially like I'm talking commission pieces. And so, you know, don't forget that you are the reason why they wanted you to make this. And so putting that little bit of you, whether it is the background or in particular the way that you work, it's phenomenal, right? You have to allow yourself to come into the painting, allow yourself to be a piece of it. you want it to look like the person, but you also need to have your heart and your feeling, your discussion, your voice as part of this whole thing. There's another local artist here who is a very good friend of mine, Eddie Feiler is his name. He is an African-American artist, and visiting with him at his studio, I discovered something that I did not know. And we were talking about, how he is able to capture the sparkle in somebody's eye, in somebody's skin tones, in somebody's expression on their face. And he really does talks about understanding who the person is and knowing that person. And when you know them, it's easier to put yourself in there. Right. And so I would say the same thing with everybody. As you're creating these things, allow yourself to be in it. There will be lots of challenges where you force yourself to be in it. And you'll notice that voice is different when you do it that way. But knowing somebody. Now, sitting with Eddie, he had multiple paintings going out at the same time. And he's got one that was a little boy, is a little Korean boy who was dressed in his Boy Scout uniform. He was getting his Eagle Scout. The next one, he had one of his daughter, and then he had one of an older executive that he was working on. And then the one that I own was a homeless man that he saw and was just like, you have the most amazing face. I have to paint you. But he had a conversation with every single one of these. And the thing that I found absolutely fascinating to me is that his palette, his paint palette, was exactly the same colors for every one of those people. Every one of those skin tones, every one of those eye colors, his palette never changed. He would work from one painting and he would go on to the next painting and not add any color tones to his palette. It was just an understanding of the chemistry that makes up those tones and makes up that life of the painting. And it astounded me. And I had never really thought about paint as a living thing before. And he really expresses it as a living thing.
Wow, that's thank you. I'm gonna have to look him up. And
Yeah,
it's funny you would mention a homeless person, because there's one that I don't know how homeless he is. He's always at the same place, starting 3:30 as I exit from work. And I ran into him at the grocery store, and I couldn't help it because there's not a shy bone in my body. I went up to him and told him, you fascinate me. Can I please take a photo of you one of these days? I need to paint you. And he was gracious and he said yes. So that's going to be a future piece.
Be drawn to all the artists. I mean, if you are out in life and noticing things around you, and something draws you to it, then that's what you should be focusing on. That's what you should be doing. There's a lot of artists that are so technically skilled and such great draftsmen that they can render exactly what they're looking at, but it doesn't give that heart. It doesn't give that connection. And as skillful as it might be, and as impressive as it is, it's lacking that little bit that allows us as viewers to participate in your work and to have a conversation with the work. A lot of times when I watch people in galleries, so I did a study as part of my museum work where we were studying the patterns on how people walk through galleries. And we wanted to see, when people enter a gallery, what do they go to first and what's their pattern? And how long do they pause and how long do they look at works? And the fascinating thing that I found was very technical work that is spot on, realistic, people are very comfortable with that, but they don't spend a lot of time. They look at it and they go, wow, that's really well done. And then they move on. The ones where they spend a lot of time are the ones that they can actually try and figure it out. They're having an internal conversation with the visual piece. So the deeper the work is, the more personal it is, even with abstract expressionists. I saw this family come into the American galleries with the abstract expressionists, and I mean, they're standing in front of a Calder and they look at Calder and they go, oh, that's kind of cool. It's technical and it spins around and blah, 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 whatever. And then they stood in front of a Klein and tried to figure it out. And they stood in front of a Helen Frankenthaler. And they spent the most time standing in front of that Frankenthaler because they didn't quite get it. But when it hit them, they understood it. And they had that internal conversation with it. It was beautiful to watch.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I have to go. I have to go and chaperone prom.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you so much. I was expecting fabulousness in the ensemble tonight, and you did not disappoint.
Very sparkly.
So, are those the colors of the prom?
No, heck no.
Oh,
I do my own thing.
Well, I knew that, but I didn't know if you were, kind of just playing.
No, it's Starry, Starry Night tonight, but I just said, yeah, I'm going shiny. This is my artwork currently. Is I teach fashion design as well, so I make shirts and jackets, and I don't make pants anymore, but this is what I do now, shirts and ties.
Okay. Do we have?
Well, you look very dapper.
But thank you.
Real quick questions, or because I wanted to go ahead and wrap this up in just a few moments. Any quick questions? Okay, I wanted to say thank you to Jason, and I wanted to say thank you for everybody who joined us tonight and who'll be watching us later on YouTube. This has been a fabulous critique. I took lots of notes because I was inspired by seeing other people's work and by hearing what Jason had to say about it and what you had to say about it as well. So I really want to thank you for enabling me to experience your work and to kind of hopefully grow as an artist. I wanted to talk to you about the gallery will be online. So if you saw something, and I have, but unfortunately I'm really poor right now, but they're all for sale online. So please go and visit the online gallery. You can share it with your patrons, you can share it with your friends. And so hopefully you can get some more kind of notoriety out of it. And we'll also be sharing it on our social media outlets. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll see your work. So thank you very much. On behalf of the Lakeland Art Guild, I'm Sherry Ross, and I want to say thank you for attending and thank you for entering our Melvin Show, and we will see you soon. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you.